My husband died in 2020. After he died, I found out a series of very unpleasant things about him. It was devastating and took me more than 3 years to come to grips with. He died in August of 2020, and I sold our condo in June of 2021. He had renovated the entire condo. Kitchen, both bathrooms, flooring, trim, doors, everything. It took nearly 3 years. I have 2 small dogs, and when the realtor told me someone was coming to see the property, I took the dogs, locked the door, and went outside. The realtor told me to be out for about 30 minutes. After that period of time, I went back upstairs. The door was as locked. I entered, and when I did, it looked as if people had been there. The doors were moved. The laundry doors were wide open. I had closed them. They were barn doors. I then got a text from the realtor asking me why I didn't put the key in the lockbox on the main floor outside. The people couldn't get in with their realtor. I'll be honest, I was in a very bad place after he died, particularly after what I found, and thinking in detail was not something I was doing. I went to the main washroom and saw that the bath mat was sitting over the tub, not the way I left it. I touched it and felt water, almost like someone got out of a shower and had been standing on it. It was a fairly big apartment, 2 bedrooms and an office. When the dogs and I were in bed at night, I could hear noises in the kitchen after he died at night. I was too afraid to get out of bed. It was a concrete building, and we couldn't hear anything people were doing in apartments near us, so hearing something was very unusual. I moved in June of 2021 to a new condo. The first night there, I was alone. The dogs were being taken care of. I was laying in bed, not asleep, laying on my side at the edge. I felt someone brush past me. My hair actually moved. It scared the hell out of me. I lay there for a few minutes afraid to move. Finally, I moved again recently, far from where I had been living. Last Christmas Eve, I was in bed. My bedroom door was open, and I clearly heard 3 knocks on that door. It happened twice. This also really scared me. I have never been one to think of the spirit world until recently. Last Christmas, I made statements out loud and told him to leave me alone. So far, all has been good. The last 4 years has been a real ride. I hate that I'm more curious about what your late husband did than the way you've had to live after his death. Weary, I hope you can find peace now. Heart Hands Light Skin Tone. https://www.reddit.com/r/narcissistic spouses/s/0xgvgdvu op explained what her husband did in this post. OMG, that's so sad. He's still tormenting her and ruining her life even after his death? A true it's not him tormenting her. He's passed on. This is a demon mocking him. Everything op has stated is exactly how they act. They move at lightning speed, that's why her hair moved. She definitely has an evil entity in her house. They mock dead humans as a joke to them. It also makes you believe we live forever on this earth, which is a lie. No, he isn't. Ghosts aren't real, and I have serious doubts this is real either. I will never understand why people such as your negative-ass self even spend time in these subs and comment your bullshit about how people are lying because ghosts aren't real. Why even come here? No one asked you to be here, but no one also asked you to talk shit and discredit people's experiences. You're seriously ridiculous. These comment reads like you are getting in trouble with mom and she is disappointed. Tears of joy. Love it. Then you don't need to be spending time in this sub. I saw a ghost when I was 15. You can easily Google ghost encounters. I'm sure you can find them on Reddit. Just because you don't think they're real doesn't mean anything, because people have actual experiences to speak of. Person face palming, medium dark skin tone, female sign. Person shrugging, medium dark skin tone, female sign. I saw a Yeti when I was 15. You can easily Google Yeti encounters. I'm sure you can find them on Reddit. Just because you don't think they're real doesn't mean anything, because people have actual experiences to speak of. Person face palming, medium dark skin tone, female sign. Person shrugging, medium dark skin tone, female sign. That person probably hasn't thought one way or another about it and is just an internet troll looking to stir up shit. Just sad when PPL can't put their energy to creating good and causing positive attention, rather than craving negative attention like this person. SMH. The part that threw me off about the narcissistic post was when she called the therapist. I have a hard time believing a therapist would just give someone else's information out like that. I think because he had passed and given the circumstances of the therapy, an exception might have been made. He's dead. The privilege transfers to a representative of the patient or beneficiary depending on where they are located. Plus, given his sexual history, there was a risk of harm to her. So that conversation was quite possible. He gave it to me because he didn't want to give me hard copies. In Canada, immediate family, or the executor, can get medical records. I sent a letter drafted by my lawyer to him thinking he would release them. The therapist didn't answer, so I made an appointment with him as a new client. He told me he knew who I was and would verbally tell me anything I wanted to know, but he was not sending the paper records. By law, he is required to send the paper records, but I thought talking to him was okay. We spoke, I believe, twice. That got my attention too. Dude, we have more proof of ghosts and spirits being real than we do Jesus or God being real. Clear out your shrine to Superman in your room and maybe you wouldn't be such a miserable bastard. Nerd. You know what's not real? Superman. You're a dork, man. STFU. Go be a contrarian for no reason somewhere else. If you don't like the ghost story, you can just leave. Whoopi Goldberg disagrees. I'm with you. Ghosts aren't real. Why would a ghost take a shower? This story was even more interesting and shocking than the ghost story. I hate that people get treated this way. She called his therapist and the therapist told her everything? Right. A doctor can provide patient information to a power of attorney. That's what struck me as well. Like, there's no way that happens. Right? Read what I wrote above about the laws in the province I was living in. I also work in healthcare. This happens all the time. I mean, if he is dead and she is grieving and in a bad state of mind, would the mental health care professional try to help her mental state? Out of empathy? Doctor-patient confidentiality does survive death, so what the therapist did was unethical and against protocol. Unprofessional and puts his license in jeopardy if true. I was the beneficiary of the estate and the executor. I was also his power of attorney. In the province where I live, medical records can be accessed after death. I also work in healthcare and am very aware of this. The therapist was required to release the records. AKA, it seems made up. Maybe offering comfort but not divulging private matters. It just seems highly unethical. Yeah, nobody would ever behave unethically. Holy crap, poor Op. That makes sense why he lingered after death. He had so much evidence and so many secrets that he left out there. He didn't want Op to know. This is heartbreaking. I could not imagine what she is feeling. Damn, that's just crazy. Seriously, read the whole thing to find out he's just in the ghost world doing his ghost stuff. I'd like to know too. Maybe he's trying to contact you to try and apologize. The spirit doesn't seem to be vicious nor menacing. But why do you fear that it might be him? Would you be willing to talk about this and share on my podcast? You can remain anonymous. It's called Beyond the Woodline. I'd love to have you on. Thanks for your time, slightly smiling face. Where can I find your podcast? I looked on Amazon and Apple with no luck. It's on Spotify, open mouth smile. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Thanks. Gonna check it out. I listen to pods all day at work and needed a new one. I pretty much only listen to paranormal and true crime. Smiling face. Nice. I have a lot of paranormal researchers. Open mouth smile. I'm going to start a YouTube channel too. It'll be with my research team. Woodline Paranormal. That's awesome. I can't wait to listen. Smiling face, smiling face. Thanks. Open mouth smile. Is it only available with Spotify Premium? It shouldn't be, but YouTube is also available. LMAO, a fucking Bigfoot podcast. LMAO, someone that doesn't have anything better to do than troll tears of joy, tears of joy. I suggest a series called Behind the Bastards. I've only finished the Steve Jobs episode and I'm halfway through Henry Kissinger. Got ya followed. I just followed you. I will. DM me with details. I just followed you. Thanks. I have no idea what your husband did, but what an unwanted intrusion upon your peace. I am so sorry. Wow. Just wow. This man was very sick. I believe Op that his visits afterward were to say he was sorry. I'm glad he's left you alone. I pray that I've found peace. To everyone saying it's a demon mocking her. Come on. Not even close. My wife passed unexpectedly this last November, and there's only been 2 weird occurrences in the 6 months she's been gone. Once I was standing in the bedroom looking at the spot on the floor where she died. She had a pulmonary embolism. It was instant, sudden, and completely without warning. And this is about 2 or 3 weeks after her death, and I just broke down and started bawling. About 20 minutes later, after I had composed myself, I was going outside to smoke a cigarette and I felt someone put an arm around my shoulder. It was so distinct. I could feel the weight of the arm. It was extremely shocking at the time. But it was also extremely comforting. A few seconds later, it went away. I wasn't even thinking about her at the time. I was thinking about what I was going to make for dinner and having a cigarette. The other time was about a week ago. My dog woke me up at 2 o'clock in the morning because he had to go out. So I get up and take him out. He does this thing, I come back in and do my thing, and then get back in bed. I'm laying on my side facing away from the door, getting ready to reach out and turn the light off. And I was making sure my alarm was set on my phone so I didn't oversleep and be late for work. and all of a sudden I could hear my heart beating very loudly in my ears, and I kind of froze thinking, what the fuck, this is weird. Wasn't even thinking about her, I was more concerned I was having a medical event. I'm 43 and in good health, so this was quite concerning. And all of a sudden I felt the bed move a little bit behind me, and I felt someone wrap their arms around me from behind and intertwine their fingers between mine. It was like somebody was really behind me. I could feel the weight of the arms, I could feel the weight of a body behind me pushing against me. I didn't know what else to do, so I just kind of hugged her arms. I couldn't see anything, there was nothing there. I said, "Is the at you, hun?" No answer. So I just squeezed it tighter and said, "I love you and I miss you, and I'm sorry I couldn't save you." I've done CPR on her for about 20 minutes before the paramedics got there, and then they did it on her for another hour before they pronounced her dead. She was 38 and in relatively good health as well. It was just one of those freak things that happens to 1 in 280,000 people a year. She used to whisper a specific phrase against the back of my neck when we were laying down to go to bed at night, and about 10 seconds after this started, I felt something push against the back of my neck lightly and whisper word for word what she used to say. It was her voice. It was so faint I could barely hear it, but I heard it. Once again I told her I loved her, I missed her, told her I'd be fine, and I hoped she was. And then I told her she could come again anytime she had the strength or whatever. I don't know how it works. So far nothing else. If it was a demon imitating her to me, assist with me, it would have again, because it had me in the palm of its hand at the time. This seemed like the first time she was comforting me. The second time it just seemed like she was letting me know she was there and still loved me. I talk to her sometimes when I'm getting ready for work. I'll talk to her and tell her about my day, something funny the dog did, etc. I don't have a running conversation with her or anything like that. It's just more like, "Good morning, baby, I love you," and "I miss you," or "I'm home, I love you and I miss you," something like that. Or "You'll never guess what your dog did," etc. At least in my humble opinion, that's what it is. That was extremely skeptical about anything paranormal before she passed away, and as hopeful as I was that something would happen at first, the length of time that it took for something to happen the first time, like a couple of months, and then the second time it was 6 months to the day. So if it was something manipulating, mocking, or messing with me, I think it would have been more intense and more frequent. Because it had me, I would have been eating out of the palm of this thing's hand. Sorry about the long Romley post. I don't get to talk to people much anymore unless I'm at work. And I don't really feel like talking when I'm at work, lol, so it's either talk to the dog or go online and bother randos on Reddit. This was without a doubt your beloved wife letting you know she's still with you. It can take a soul a lot of energy to come through, but she needs, absolute blessing, and I am so thrilled you shared this, red heart. This story made me cry. What a beautiful gift you received, being able to communicate and feel her not once but twice more. I'm so sorry for the pain and emptiness you've had to deal with since her sudden and unexpected passing. It sounds like the two of you had and have a beautiful love, and you'll see each other again. Heart, it isn't her husband. When we pass, we are not here on this earth anymore. This is a demon mocking him. We have the ability, especially in the beginning, for our energy to be here. It could be just grief, but I experienced something similar after the sudden death of a friend of mine who was in love with me. I felt his presence so bad. It was an unbearable feeling of him being attached to me. One night, I talked to him. I told him that I'm very sorry that I couldn't reciprocate his feelings, that I was very sorry about what happened to him, and that he needed to move on, because he was frightening me, and I knew it would never be his intention. And I wished him to rest in peace. I'm very sorry for your loss. I hope that you are doing better. Belly rubs for your dogs. Precious animals, they are great company. The definition of grief is love with no place to go. I no longer loved him. I found what I did 3 days after he died. My grief ended on that day. I still don't grieve, and I never will. Thanks for responding. My dogs have been wonderful. They're both seniors now, and I love them more than ever. I am so relieved for you that you have your senior pups, and that you were able to put a stop to the grief almost immediately. While I'm sure finding out these things was awful, but you seem to have a good head on your shoulders, with your trajectory only moving forward. Good luck to you and your pups, red heart, red heart. I just read the other post where you explained what happened. I'm even more sorry. I hope you'll get the chance to heal and be happy. I hope you're seeing a therapist. You don't seem to be in a good place right now. Take care of yourself. Thanks for this reply. I saw a few therapists for 3 years. I've done my time in therapy and need to move on. This situation will never be okay, but I'm learning to cope with it. I don't think about him or this often at all anymore. I did at some points, every day. It isn't your husband. He's moved on. This is a demon mocking him, ma'am. Why do you say that? I'm genuinely curious. Would you be open to sharing what you found? I'm so curious. Look up thread. There is a link to a post where she explains. When my son-in-law was murdered over 3 years ago, my husband and I were watching my grandbaby BC. My daughter knew she would be wondering why her daddy wouldn't wake up and get her. We had both of our dogs in the house. All of a sudden, there were 3 really loud knocks on our window in the living room. We were startled and my husband looked out. We let the dogs out and they were as tore up as we were lol, but they could never pick up on a scent. It's as if it wasn't of this world. I think we sensed that right off with everything that was going on. I think that's why we let the dogs out as soon as we realized there was nobody outside. We just wanted to see if our suspicions were right. I think my son-in-law was visiting his baby girl before he went on. My mom had an affair for a couple years and then decided to end it and try and make it work with her then husband. The man she had an affair with killed himself when she told him she was going to end things. Both she and I had weird things happen for about 6 months after his death. My brother even claims to have seen an apparition of the man standing outside the window. My mom got sick of it. She wanted to move on, and firmly told him to leave her alone. She told him that she was hurting her by lingering around and that she just wanted to not be sad anymore. Everything stopped after that. I say all of this as a skeptic, as weird as that sounds. What we all experienced was very real at the time, especially for my mom. I'm sorry for what you're going through, and I hope that you can find peace. That is a horrific story. I'm so sorry. I also believe you. He died and was heartbroken. Truly horrible. You were wise to write this and share it. Some don't either fear of ridicule. Some begin to write their experience down and discontinue out of the fear that putting it on paper validates something they're not ready to validate. You knew early on in this process that it was your husband, but hoped that losing a spouse was something you'd never experienced. I believe that you felt his presence was not going to linger long, that it would be transitory and you could move on. But when it didn't, I don't think that it surprised you that his essence was so persistent. That combined with what you discovered about him posthumously then angered you and finally led you to order him away. I think he was following you to obtain your acceptance of his presence because he knew that you'd learned whatever it was you had learned about him. And if you accepted his presence, it would in some way had given him a feeling of vindication. It's good what you did. If you hadn't, you would have not had a life. You belong with the living and he belongs where he belongs. Proceed accordingly. Trophy okay, hand medium light skin tone. If I were to guess, I think he wants to apologize to you. He listened to your request to leave him alone. So I don't think he's antagonizing you. As much as he was bound by horrible addictions and issues in his life, in death he may be free of them and see the full effect of his ways. Hey read your story here, then your other post for the backstory. I'm so sorry this happened to you and I'm sorry you're having these experiences now. I wonder if these experiences now are because he has all these unresolved issues and couldn't move on. Hopefully you'll move on despite all this. Wishing you the best of luck. Stay strong. I always thought he was devastated that I found out and he had a hard time moving on. Thank you for the wishes. I'm doing much better and making my way. Don't ever watch the show Froggers, Grimace, or maybe do. I've never heard of it, but I'll see what it's all about. It's about people who hide and live in homes that are already occupied, without the occupants knowing. Scary to think about and not too uncommon. I would say yes, that could absolutely happen in a house or townhouse. Not a one-level condo. Scary as hell though. Sorry, I missed that bit of info. Best of luck to you. The 3 knocks is a mockery of the Holy Trinity and usually is manifested by demons or deeply angry spirits. I wish you luck. I googled this that night and found the same, together with other explanations. Given what I've experienced since my husband died, I chose to believe the knocking has something to do with him. It hasn't happened since, which makes me feel relieved. 3 sharp sounds, whistles, bangs, yells, are an international sign of distress. If he was a Boy Scout, he'd know that. Demons can trick you into thinking that people close to you who have passed are still somehow roaming the earth or following you. Knock it off. You believe in dogma. And wholeheartedly so. This story isn't demons, it's the spirit of a deceased person who had not moved on yet. My father, as brutal as he was, paid me a visit hours after his demise asking for forgiveness. It's not demons. Bro, that's terrifying. My knowledge of the 3 knocks comes through Irish folklore, shared with my mom and myself by a woman of pure Irish heritage. I emphasize the purity, because she once heard the banshee, something only those of strictly Irish ancestry can hear. According to her, the knocks could be either warning of a death to come, or the announcement of the presence of a spirit, not necessarily an angry one. Anyone, i.e. not just the Irish, can hear the knocks. Don't be scared. He's just trying to say hello. I bet if you talk to him and told him how he makes you feel, he'll stop. He just wants some recognition that, he's there, watching over you. There really isn't anything to be afraid of. I wonder if he's trying to say he's sorry. He's gone but doesn't want to be forgotten. Now that you've found out everything, is he sticking around to see how you're coping with all this? Is there guilt in the afterlife? So what did you find out? Thank you for sharing. I'm going to give it a listen. There will never be a place you could move that he wouldn't follow you. Spirits follow who they want, whenever they want. What did your husband do? There is a link above in one of the comments. Hey, can I make a video about this? Better hear him out. Talk to him. Tell him to leave. But not in an asking way, but in a demanding way. Don't light up candles for him or anything, just firmly and madly tell him to leave and that he's not welcome anymore. I do hope you're healing well, mentally and spiritually. You've been through so much, sending positivity. The earth energy that remains tends to be the same as when they were alive. It is only loosely attached to their higher self or oversoul. His ghost is probably acting out more from the guilt of being caught rather than the regret. In his eyes, he treated you well, so that is all that mattered. And he is mad you aren't acknowledging that in order to overlook his faults. I appreciate this perspective as well. I'm deeply sorry for your loss and the incredibly difficult journey you've been through. Your story is both heart-wrenching and fascinating, and it touches on several profound themes that many people experience but rarely discuss openly. Firstly, the unsettling discoveries about your husband after his death must have compounded your grief significantly. It's not uncommon for people to uncover hidden aspects of their loved ones' lives after they pass, and this can lead to a complex mix of emotions, including betrayal, confusion, and sorrow. Your ability to come to grips with these revelations over 3 years speaks volumes about your resilience and strength. The paranormal experiences you described, such as hearing noises, feeling a presence, and the physical sensations like your hair being brushed, are intriguing. Research indicates that such experiences are not uncommon among the bereaved. For instance, studies have shown that a significant number of people report sensory experiences of the deceased, which can include auditory, visual, tactile, and even olfactory phenomena. These experiences are often perceived as real and can have a profound impact on the grieving process. Your narrative also aligns with the theory of continuing bonds, which suggests that maintaining a connection with the deceased is a normal part of grief and can be adaptive. The knocks on your door and the feeling of someone brushing past you might be interpreted as your mind's way of processing the loss and maintaining a connection with your husband, even if it is unsettling. It's also worth noting that many people find comfort in these experiences, while others, like yourself, may find them distressing. The key is how you interpret and integrate these experiences into your understanding of your husband's death and your own life moving forward. Speaking out loud and setting boundaries, as you did last Christmas, is a powerful way to reclaim your space and assert your needs. If you continue to feel unsettled, it might be helpful to seek support ideally from a professional who is open to discussing these experiences without judgment. There are therapeutic approaches specifically designed to help people integrate such anomalous experiences into their lives in a healthy way. Your story is a testament to the complexity of grief and the human experience. Thank you for sharing it so openly. I hope you continue to find peace and healing in your new home and life. Wow, I read the link you posted below. I just want to hug you. This in and of itself is terrifying to me, but coupled with how diabolical your husband was. Beyond terrifying, I am so sorry you've had to go through this. You deserve peace. Sending you lots of love, growing heart. I'm both soothed and unsettled by your reply, and I want you to know that I appreciate you writing this. I said prior to now that I stopped grieving 3 days after he died. The truth is I grieve the loss of the husband I thought I had. Unfortunately, that man didn't exist. That is what has been the most difficult for me. I love the man I thought I knew with all my heart. The man I found when he died is a complete stranger. That sounds so frightening and upsetting. Rushed face, I find it interesting. It would seem his spirit has been moving with you. Have you tried smudging, or similar equivalent, the new place to rid it of bad energies from your late husband? I hope you can move on and you can find peace soon. If this is the spirit of your husband, moving isn't going to stop it. He's attached to you. Set him up a shrine so you have a place to interact and possibly elevate him. Thanks for your response. I didn't move for those reasons. My last move was for work, but I will look into this. I rid myself of all of his belongings and gave several items to his 2 kids. I haven't had any contact since Christmas. although these situations have tended to be far apart for some reason. You ever have any dreams about a UFO near your house? No. Share this to the Dating Detectives podcast. I couldn't imagine, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. Folded hands. This is not your husband. This is a demon mocking him. You need to find the Lord ASAP. I found God a very long time ago. I regret asking to be left alone, especially because we agreed to interactions if possible after passing. It just freaked me out because I didn't think it would really happen. She might be deserving of haunting. How was the relationship before he died? Did you cheat? Did he? If you cheated on him, then my feelings are you deserve the haunting. If it was the other way around, get some sage and ask him to leave you alone. I did not cheat. You could have told that story without the what you found out about your husband part. Why mention it knowing you won't tell it? I did that to illustrate why I thought the spirit encounters were happening. It wasn't a regular situation after death. She wrote it all out in another post. There's no need to make someone research you. Elaborate in the first place or don't bring it up. You can scroll up and see someone linked it. Thank you. Honestly, these are just plausible interactions from someone viewing the house. Opening doors, testing faucets, moving items to make sure it isn't covering any damage or mold underneath. Definitely not a ghost lol. No one was in the house. That's the point. I forgot to put the key in the lockbox. The people didn't view the property until after this happened. They could have gone in a back door. It was a condo, a high-rise building. There was no back door to our unit. I wasn't talking about a key or pass to get into the building I was talking about. Key to our unit. Also, the realtor texted me to say they couldn't get in because I didn't leave my key in the lockbox outside. Sure, but the realtor said they hadn't been able to get into the house because she'd locked it and forgotten to leave her key. This is such a bizarre thing to post on the internet. Yikes.